Committee member David Kustoff. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria.
So you are one of only 2 Jewish Republicans in the House of Representatives. What's your reaction to all of this?
You know, my reaction is, first of all, as we know, Israel passed a law within the last couple of years to ban people from traveling to Israel who may do harm to the country. But even going back, you know, within the past 2 weeks, we saw Republican and Democrat freshman members of Congress they go every other year to Israel with their leaders, Steny Hoyer and Kevin McCarthy. It's a tradition. Those 2 members could have gone with their freshman class, their freshman members, both Republican and Democrat, to learn more about Israel, to learn more about the Palestinian Authority and how we interact in the world. They chose on their own not to go on that trip. And I think they wanted this trip, obviously, that they wanted to take to make a statement to further promote BDS, which we as a nation oppose.
Well, BDS is obviously boycott Israel. And you think that was a complete, direct, intentional decision not to go on the trip with Kevin McCarthy and Steny Hoyer, and instead just try to make a lot of noise around their own trip?
Right. It was to make a statement because, again, it's a tradition that all the freshman Republican and Democrats travel together to Israel. They could have gone on this trip. They chose not to go on the trip. It was just within the last week to 2 weeks. They wanted to make their own statement, and I think that would have been certainly against Israel's interest. Israel deemed it a possible threat to their security, right, for them to go. And, of course, as we know, Congressman Tlaib was granted later, a day or 2 after the denial, the right to go and visit her grandmother, right, on humanitarian needs, and she decided not to do that, again, to make a further statement.
So where is this going then?
You know, I think that the Democrats really have a challenge. We've seen this since the beginning of the year, since Democrats took control of the House, that those 2 members, along with some others, have promoted the BDS mantra, anti-Semitic remarks, and time after time, unfortunately, we've not seen the Democrat leadership take a stand and push back against this type of anti-Semitic rhetoric.
No, we haven't.
When we go back in September, I think we may see a further escalation of this type of talk, and at some point, I think the Democratic leadership is either going to have to take a stand. They're going to have to take a stand one way or the other. And of course, you mentioned that I'm one of 2 Jewish Republicans in the House of Representatives. There are more than 20 Democratic Jewish representatives in the House. I know that a number of them would like for their leadership, their Democratic leadership, to stand up and take a stand. I think they have to at some point, as long as this anti-Semitic talk and the BDS talk continues to escalate.
Which is why I would have expected more of a commentary from your colleagues on the left because of their heritage. But when you go back in September, there's also going to be talk of impeachment again. Jerry Nadler wants this. Congressman Ben Ray Lujan becoming the latest Democrat backing impeachment claims. He's now the highest-ranking House Democrat to support an investigation. Tell me where you think this goes.
Yeah, you know, it's a tremendous distraction. And frankly, Maria, it's a time suck. I mean, it really is. I've read the 448-page Mueller report. I really wonder how many members of Congress have read it.
Right.
We know Mueller's conclusions. We know that unfortunately the Democrats have continued to want to try to gin this up. You know, you think back a couple of months ago, they thought by having John Dean come and testify before the committee that would spur interest among the American people, while now the majority of the American people oppose impeachment. That hearing was a dud. Then they followed up with having Mueller come to testify, who stated publicly that he didn't want to testify. He thought the report spoke for itself. They had him testify, as we know, a few weeks ago before 2 different House committees. That didn't move the needle. You know, from a policy standpoint, as long as the Democrats continue to want to focus on impeachment and push impeachment, it means that all these issues that we need to deal with as a Congress get pushed to the side, because right now in Washington and Congress, we don't do a good job of walking and chewing gum at the same time.
Well, that was my next question. I mean, you've got to fight over Israel. You've got to fight over impeachment. What can you get done when you get back?
You've got the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement that we really need to ratify that before the end of the year. We've got appropriations. So to go back to your point, Maria, there are only so many hours in a day. There are only so many days left in the year. I think we've got around 40 legislative days left. The Democrats can choose impeachment, or they can choose to do the work of the people. I'd rather get done what the people have elected me to do. But the fact of the matter is that if they pursue impeachment, it's going to fail. I don't know that they've got certainly among Republicans, there's not the support among Republicans. And we know that the Senate would not convict. So what is the purpose? I think that probably there's some Democrat leaders that politically they understand that, because they know the lessons from the Bill Clinton impeachment in 1998. That's exactly right. But the question is, how much longer can the Democrat leadership hold off some of these insurgents that are calling for impeachment? I don't know the answer to that.
All right, Tom Bevan.
Congressman, just quickly, what are the odds that USMCA is going to get passed? And then also there's talk that Democrats are lining up a bunch of gun control bills for the House of Representatives. Any chance that anything will move on gun control?
You know, on USMCA, the overwhelming majority of Republicans, just about all Republicans, want to see that passed. I think that there are a fair number of Democrats that want to see the USMCA passed. But think about the climate that we're in right now. I mean, we need to get it done. We certainly need to get it done.
But how do you get it done, Congressman? Do you have to make any more tweaks in terms of salaries? Would you have to make changes to this? Because when I have people like Debbie Dingell on, you know, Michigan, she says, look, we need changes in terms of salaries because Mexican workers make $1.50 an hour, and we don't want U.S. workers to get into that problem.
Yeah, well, I do think that the president has done a really good job negotiating those concessions with Mexico and Canada. Could there be some more tweaks? I'm sure that Speaker Pelosi is going to demand it. But remember, in the House, to get the vote on the floor, Speaker Pelosi has to put this bill on the floor.
Right.
We're running out of days. And to go back to the climate for just a moment, I'm convinced that there are some Democrats that don't want to vote for it because they see it as being a win for President Trump.
Oh, yeah, we know that. Yeah.
It's a win for the American people. It's a win for the American employees. It's a win for the American manufacturers. And Tom, I think you asked about gun control. You know, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of crosstalk. So far, I've not seen any bills or any legislation in toto that are being proposed. And
well, what about the red flag? What about the red flag bill?
You know, one question I have is, will the administration be in support of it? But